Ryanair, Europe's biggest budget carrier, has won its latest legal challenge against state aid packages offered to national airlines. A court in Luxembourg annulled plans by Germany for a multi-million-dollar support deal for troubled airline Condor. However, Ryanair could be in trouble with UK regulators. Along with British Airways, the Irish firm will be investigated over claims it may have breached consumer law by failing to offer timely refunds for cancelled flights. Let's talk now to Peter Morris, who is an economist with the aviation research group Ascend by Cirium. Great to have you with us on the programme today, Peter. So let's talk first about what will be the third victory for Ryanair after successful appeals over Holland's KLM and Portugal's TAP. Do these mark a change in stance from EU regulators?
Not really. This has been an ongoing battle that's been taking place over the last 2 decades, effectively, between the airline establishment as it was in Europe and the upstarts, and sometimes they've won rulings, sometimes they've lost rulings. So I think it's part of the kind of top-down and bottom-up approach. So in other words, there's looking at the regulatory side and then seeing what is there that they feel is unfair, and then at the bottom-up side, they're actually competing in terms of the routes and the prices they put in the marketplace. So I think it's another tool of doing business, is the legal approach.
And there are some more cases to come. Do you think these rulings are likely to cause any real damage to airlines like Condor, who end up being on the losing side?
Well, at the moment, it does seem that they're not actually going to enforce the repayment of the loans. So because of the pressure of the COVID-19 crisis. So I think, it may be Pyrrhic to some extent to have a ruling that it's invalid, but it might only apply going forward to further loans, for example.
Would you say, though, that if airlines can't actually survive without state aid, there could be an argument for letting them fold?
There could be, but on the other hand, it's one of these sort of infant industries arguments, isn't it? If you try and create a car industry overnight, then you're going to be killed by the big boys. So that to some extent, getting through a crisis is one of those infant industry arguments, saying that, well, if you let everybody go to the wall, you're going to end up with people then wanting to travel, but the airlines simply won't be there to facilitate it. So it's a judgment as to what level of subsidy, and you see that right the way across business, is appropriate to actually see through this period without actually giving subsidies for something that is a commercial air transport industry.
Let's move on then to this probe by UK regulators into refund policies, both at Ryanair and also at British Airways. How damaging could this be?
Well, I mean, one of the things that the airlines have faced is suddenly if you look at airlines globally, you're talking over 2 years, probably going down in terms of revenue by about $1 trillion. So, no business can actually withstand that. You have to look at, well, how do I survive? And one of the strategies the airlines have looked at, undoubtedly, is trying to postpone travel and persuade people that they could take a reimbursement in form of a ticket at another time, or indeed slowing down the process of reimbursement until it becomes clear. So I think it's quite an interesting parallel, though, actually. If you look at other industries, you see the insurance industry, for example, and that travel insurance was pretty much invalidated overnight, even if you had an existing policy. And you don't see that pressure in the courts to actually get the money back from the insurance people. And similarly on the car side, when you see now that car insurance, the people have made a significant profit from the fact people haven't been driving their cars. So I think there is a bit of a double standard in terms of what are the goods and who's paid for them. But you can understand from the consumer point of view, it's sort of, well, we paid for this, we didn't get it, we'd like our money back. But you can see from the airline side that particularly that is going to hit them very badly indeed, given they have upfront paid for all the aircraft, the staff and everything else, and all they're saving is the marginal cost of the fuel. So there's got to be some kind of compromise. But on the other hand, understandably, the consumers and the consumer supporters are saying, well, why should we pay?